Hello viewers, a very warm good evening from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. You're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station. My name is Aliou Cisse, the moderator for today's debate, as we continue to bring you daily live debates as we prepare for the upcoming parliamentary election here in the Gambia. I mean, we also welcome our followers on Facebook and YouTube, and those following also on Q Radio on 103.3. Like I said, I mean, for the past since Monday, we've been bringing you live debates, and today we're looking at Latrikunda Sabiji constituency, which is the second biggest constituency in the Kanifing municipality administrative area in terms of the number of registered voters. I mean, Latrikunda has 36,851 registered voters as of the last presidential election held on 4 December 2021. I mean, Serekunda West is the biggest with 44,387 registered voters, and Latrikunda Sabiji constituency has 14 polling stations. And when you talk about Latrikunda Sabiji constituency, here you're talking about Latrikunda Sabiji, the Fajikunda, Abuko. That's what constitute Latrikunda Sabiji constituency. In 2017 election, we had 7 candidates who contested in that election. We had 5 men and 2 women, but this time around we're having 6 who are contesting in this in the parliamentary election, and they are the incumbent Sekou Marong, who won in the 2017 election on the UDP ticket but cross-carpeted to National People's Party. And we have Ibrahim Nyang, who will be joining us later in the program, contesting on the GDC ticket. He also contested in 2017. I mean, we have Yaya Sanyang, who is already here in the studio. Yaya Sanyang is representing the United Democratic Party, UDP. We also have Aminata Korea, who is also here representing PDYS party. Actually, this is the second time Aminata is contesting in this election. She contested in 2017 on the PPP but lost to the sitting MP Sekou Marong. And also we have Umar Koli, who is also contesting as an independent candidate. And in the studio also we have Ibrahim Fati, who is also contesting as an independent candidate in this upcoming parliamentary election. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the debate. Yes, I mean, just to start with, I mean, let me just remind our viewers what the rules of these debates are, because it's important that, you know, we always remind our viewers what the rules are. Like we have always said, I mean, the debate shall last for 1 hour, 40 minutes. I mean, the debate shall include short breaks where necessary. Each of the debaters will be given 2 minutes to make an opening statement. The same applies for the closing statement as well. Candidates can ask each other questions and answer the moderator's follow-up questions. Debaters are to address each other by Mr., Miss, or Mrs. followed by the surname of the opponent. I mean, the questions are independently prepared by QTV. I mean, none of the debaters has an influence as to what questions we ask. I mean, there will be no rebuttals of the opening and closing statements. There will be 10 minutes phone-in call to allow the people of Latrikunda Sabiji constituency to call and ask questions. I mean, as far as this debate is concerned, I mean, at the end of the debate, we expect, I mean, the debaters to acknowledge each other with handshake or elbow bump. I mean, like I said, I mean, you're watching QTV, and we're broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just right behind the closed building. My name is Aliou Cisse. We will now get into the program, the debate itself. I will now allow the debaters. I will start with Yaya Sanyang. I mean, to, you know, give us an opening statement.
Well,
in 2 minutes, Yaya.
Good evening, viewers. I am Yahya Sanyang. I am the UDP sponsored candidate for Latrikunda Sabiji constituency for the upcoming National Assembly elections. I started my primary school in Kuinara and proceeded to Kuinara Junior Secondary School. From there, I went to Bortop Senior Secondary School. I started my grade 12 examination, and later went to Gambia College, where I studied a TC High Teacher Certificate and major in Agricultural Science and Social and Environmental Studies. I taught for a few years in several schools in the provinces and in the Gambia and in the urban areas as well. And in 2008, I was awarded a Gambian government scholarship to study civil engineering in Taiwan, where I completed in 2012 and came back to Gambia. I worked with the World Bank Project Coordination with Ministry of Education. I served many regions and supervised many school constructions. And 2015 also, I studied law at the University of the Gambia, and 2017 I was appointed at OIC
project unit.
Thank you very much, Yaya Sanyang, who is here to join in the debate. He is the candidate for the United Democratic Party, UDP. And next we have Aminata Korea. Aminata, welcome to the debate. Opening statement in 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Ali. My name is Aminata Korea, as said by the moderator. I live in Fajikunda. I was born and raised in Fajikunda. I started my early education at St. Modest Union, and from Modest Union to St. Peter's Primary School and to St. Teresa's Junior School, and I graduated from Muslim High School in 2005. I later did a course with the Humanity Fest, which is situated at Latikunda, and that is it for now.
Thank you very much, Aminata Korea. And now to Ibrahima Fati, an independent candidate. Ibrahima, who is Ibrahima Fati?
Thank you very much, Mr. Ali. Ibrahima Fati, independent candidate for Latikunda Sabiji constituency. Well, I started school at Latikunda Sabiji Lower Basic School, and then I proceeded to Latikunda Sabiji Upper Basic School. There I booked my ticket to Muslim Senior Secondary School, where I graduated. I later went to microtechnology, where I studied IT diploma certificate, and then I later on proceed to GTMI, where I study networking, MCSA and MCSE. I later go back to microtechnology, where I also study A+, and then to St. Stephenson, where I study English proficiency.
Thank you very much, Ibrahima Fati, Yaya Sanyang, and Aminata Korea. Like I said, viewers, I mean, the candidate for GDC, Ibrahima Nyang, will be joining us shortly. But just for the records, I mean, QTV has officially reached out to all the candidates in Latikunda Sabiji, and the incumbent, of course, sitting MP, Seko Marong, who is seeking re-election under the National People's Party, choose not to be here. I mean, according to the party, it's a policy that they don't participate in any debate. But what is important is that we have most of the candidates who are contesting willing to come and be part of this debate to share with the electorates what their plans as far as the upcoming election is concerned, and what they seek to achieve as members of the National Assembly. I will just start. I mean, this is going to be a general question to all of you. I will start with Yaya. I mean, certainly there must be a reason for you coming out and wanting to contest in the next election. I mean, if you are to look back at the Latrikunda Sabiji constituency, I mean, what are some of the challenges, or what have you seen that make you feel, you know what, I think I should get to the National Assembly?
Mr. Sister, thank you very much. My motivation to stand as a National Assembly member is so broad. I don't think I can be able to name all of them within 1 hour, but I will try to be so brief. I will try to summarize them so that the viewers can understand, and also people in Latrikunda Sabiji can understand. For me to serve the National Assembly is going to be two perspectives. One, to serve the whole Gambia, to bring in good laws, and two, to serve my constituency by looking at the basic needs that has been lacking for the past 50 years. Now, to start with, number one problem in this country is the bad laws. The bad laws in our law books has been there for a very long time, and the National Assembly members are not proactive to remove those bad laws and enact good laws for the development of this country. When I go into the National Assembly, as a National Assembly member, I'll first of all look at the laws that are not progressive in nature, that has sort of stifled the freedom of expressions in this country, and also that has created an enabling environment for reckless corruption in the government and in the civil service for that matter. Like the anti-crime, the anti-corruption bill is long overdue. This bill need to be effective now to minimize corruption in this country. And the only institution that can enable this happen, that can realize this happen, is the National Assembly. They have not been proactive to that extent. And that has created a lot of reckless corruption in this government, unaccounted. Every day you are hearing scandals. You are hearing scandals in the central bank, in the Gambia National Petroleum Company, Gambia Ports Authority, most of these parastatals. So without anti-corruption bill, people are not accounted for. So that's going to be my #1 priority. #2 priority.
Thank you very much. You have 2 minutes. I mean, I will now go to okay. Aminata, same questions to you. What actually inspires you to wanting to represent the people of Latrikunda Sabiji in the parliament?
Thank you, Aliu. As you know, this is my second bid for the seat in parliament, and I was a coalition member. And I also was an assistant media coordinator under the Office of President-elect, as well as the Face of the Impasse. And this is my second bid for the seat, and the reason is I want to be the voice of my people in the House of Parliament. And as we all know, the responsibility of the National Assembly member is also is an oversight role to government, to the executive, as well as enacting laws, but also scrutiny, to scrutinize government and also public institutions, as well as scrutinizing budget allocation, yearly budget allocation, in which we feel priority areas should be the main focus of government, and we will make sure the government prioritize areas of concern and areas of national development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aminata Korea. And Ibrahim Fati, same question to you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Cisse. Well, I feel like Latrikunda Sabiji constituency has a scratch in the back. And then what happened is that, like, the scratch happened to be at a spot where the politicians, I can say the political colors, they are not going through the scratch. What happened is that, like, for us, I think that, like, they are trying to scratch the back at this way. With thereby, like, there's a shortcut where they can able to reach at the scratch very easily. And then I feel like they activate when it comes to Latrikunda Sabiji. I feel like my voice is not being heard at the National Assembly. And then I think like it is time for myself to go and represent the constituency at the highest level. Let the people know that, like, one of those key reasons are Latrikunda Sabiji constituency. I certainly feel it is part of the country, but then sometimes I also feel like it is not part of the country, because there are certain institutions which are looked at the National Assembly by various National Assembly members which are not actually from Latrikunda Sabiji constituency, and then they are achieving that, but Latrikunda Sabiji is not achieving that. So I feel like the one representing me at National Assembly is not representing me at the best of my knowledge. So I feel like I myself, I can do it for myself, and then I can do it for my people. Because what happened is that, like, certainly when we talk, they say that, like, aerial development, it is not part of National Assembly system. But then I see like it cannot be, because what happens is that, like, the area that we are talking about, it is part of the constituency, and then constituency is part of the country. And then after all, what we are looking for, it's for national interest. And then what happens is that, like, I feel like that national interest, it's yet to be at Latrikunda Sabiji constituency. Because I certainly do see that, like, our women are insecure at the moment. And then secondly, what happens is that, like, do we expect that, like, still Gambia at 57, you expect still my mom to wake up at 3:02 to fetch her buckets at night? And then I see that, like, I don't have a very good representative. So I think that, like, I can do it. I can change that. When I get to the National Assembly, I will make sure that Latrikunda Sabiji constituency, they get their basic needs.
Thank you very much, Ibrahima Fati, an independent candidate contesting in the Latrikunda Sabiji constituency. Viewers, just to remind you, you're still watching QTV, and we're broadcasting live. Like I said earlier on, I mean, we have now been joined in the studio by Mr. Ibrahima Nyang, who is contesting on the GDC ticket. I mean, Mr. Nyang, good to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, you came late, but I mean, like we do, we'll just allow you to make a 2-minute opening statement.
Yes, thank you so much, Aliu, and thank you to my fellow aspirants. It is a rare opportunity, and I think I should be grateful for this. At the end of the day, my name is Ibrahim Nyang, for those who don't know me. I was born in Latrikunda Sabiji. That's where I was raised. I contested the 2017 parliamentary election unsuccessful, and now I am here also vying for the same position in Latrikunda Sabiji constituency. I did my schooling at Latrikunda Sabiji Lower Basic School, from there to Mindau Upper Basic Muslim Senior Secondary School, where I also did other training in other tertiary institutions. From there I proceeded to Gambia College. That's where I did my HTC, Higher Teacher Certificate, major in English, minor in SES. I taught for 6 years, and I am also a student at the UTG in my 3rd year, studying political science, minor in development studies. So other courses like vocational trainings have been attended, but just to be precise, I will be very much grateful to stop it here for now.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Nyang. I'll just ask you this, the similar question that I put to your opponents before you arrived. I mean, you said this is the second time you are contesting, and you are right. In 2017, you contested, and then you lost to the incumbent. You got 1,078 votes in that election. Why do you think, or why are you contesting again to represent the people of Latrikunda Sabiji constituency in the National Assembly?
Yes, contesting for the National Assembly, I believe, is the most important house in the Gambia. And I believe we need people at this who are very inclined and reasonable in order not only to represent our constituency, but the Gambia at large. Because at the end of the day, any country is ruled or is governed by laws. So those laws, I believe, people who should be sent there are people who should be capable enough, at least not to represent the interest of a party or the president, but to represent the interest of a constituency. And over the 5 years, or even before the 5 years, I saw those who were sent at the National Assembly. Obviously, they did not meet my expectation, because politics is all about, development, and it's all about also well-representation. So over the years, when I see that at least maybe the way I can represent my constituency will be far more better than the way I am seeing those who are elected to represent the constituency, that is one of the reasons why I also vie and said that I will present myself to the people of Latrikunda Sabiji, because I believe I can do it more than the person or the people who once served there.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Nyang. Let me now come back to Yahya. I mean, in your opening statement, you talk about what you describe as some of the things that are lacking in this country. You talk about having bad laws. You're talking about, I mean, perhaps not having a proactive parliament. You talk about the issue of corruption. I mean, how do you propose to address this if you are elected as the National Assembly member for Latrikunda constituency?
Mr. Sise, thank you very much for this question. It's a very important question, and now, if you can remember very, very well, we have a draft constitution. This draft constitution went to the parliament, and they rejected the draft constitution. That is because certain clauses or certain provisions that were in the constitution were not favorable to the sitting president. And me having a law background, one thing I know about the constitution, it was a very progressive document. But because of the simple-minded nature of some of our parliamentarians, and they've been so clueless on certain provisions, they reject the entire constitution for the sake of the sitting president, which is very, very disheartening and very, very sad. Now, the country has spent more than $100 million on that constitution. That $100 million that we spend on our constitution, I said it several times in several media houses, as a civil engineer, that can be able to give us over 10 kilometers of roads. That can give us over 30 schools. That can give us over 10 markets. That can also give us over thousands of boreholes for our women gardeners. So the entire country comes together. Constitutional experts travel both inside the Gambia and outside the Gambia. They went far and wide. Ask everybody. Ask people in Nyanija, people in Bassi, people in Banjul, Serekunda, Fajikunda, Latrikunda, everywhere. How do you want to be governed? And people put their ideas, thinkings together and give the National Assembly that progressive document. What they do is to do it outside. They waste the taxpayers' money. Women selling in Fajikunda market, women selling in Latrikunda market, women selling in Bassi market, all over. People walking on the street. our welder men, our carpenters, our taxi drivers, their money put together.
Well,
over 100 million.
Mr. Sanyang, your time is up. You have 2 minutes. Let me just come back. You talk about the issue of the draft constitution, which was rejected in Parliament.
Correct.
But one will say this was done through a democratic means. I mean, it was democratically rejected by the National Assembly. And you, as an individual, you are just one out of that 58 MPs in Parliament. How will you...
You see, Mr. Sise, when you go to the National Assembly, you have two loyalties. Loyalty to your nation, to your party, and to your conscience. Anybody among those National Assembly who is loyal to your conscience, to the nation, you not draft that, you not reject that progressive draft constitution. That's my point. It was not democratic. It was just selfishness.
I think, Mr. Sanyang, these are just based on assumptions.
These are not based on assumptions. I'm a keen reader and I'm a keen follower of all National Assembly proceedings. Some of them reject this constitution. They don't even read one paragraph of it. Just because,
which ones?
No,
which ones? Which ones?
They don't. I don't want to. It has been my policy since I entered into politics. I don't name names when I'm on media. But one thing I can tell you, some of them, they don't even read a single part of that document.
Mr. Sanyang, we're talking about transparency here. You are going into National Assembly and you vow to be transparent. You should be able to tell us who are these people that you think they didn't read this document.
Who are the National Assembly members?
These are public officials.
Well, they know themselves.
We can talk about them.
I don't want to talk about anybody. If you ask me, I've been a policy, I'm so committed to this policy beyond recall. I will not name names, but they know themselves. They don't even read one paragraph, but just because somebody out there told them, reject this. It's not favorable for me. They when I did. Well,
Mr. Sanyang, I will take this as just mere allegations you are making against those people. Let me now move to Aminata Korea. I mean, you talk about representing your people, trying to be their voices at the National Assembly. How will you do this?
First of all, we know not only our mandate is not only to represent our people, because we've been voted into office by people of our constituency, and our mandate is not only to enact laws, but serve as an oversight function to government, like I said before. So. And also looking at and also addressing issues of the nation. We feel the yearly budgets that government that is allocated to government needs to be scrutinized, and also priority areas identified. Priority areas like health. We have seen the condition of our health sector, the poor condition of our health sector. We have had women dying in labor. And this was not addressed, but rather we had the minister saying it is politically motivated. Having women activists protesting is politically motivated. We have seen the poor conditions of our roads, especially access roads. During the rainy season, they are flooded. We have seen the lack of basic amenities, electricity and water in the people of my constituency. And apart from that, we all know there is a high unemployment rate in this country, especially during the COVID-19, when we see most of the hotels were not functioning and has closed down. This has increased the rate of unemployment, especially among youths. And not only that, we feel the women and the young people of our constituency, not only the constituency, but of the country, are not empowered enough in all the daily activities, and this is their source of living. We feel that the government must prioritize, and government must invest in its people. Government must invest in the economy to stimulate economic growth, as well as pay attention to priority areas, which health is a priority, agriculture is a priority, security is a priority, because we have seen what has recently happened in Fonyi. The crisis were poorly managed, and the fact that the engagement between...
Thank you very much, Aminata. I mean, you've mentioned a lot. I mean, certainly, I mean, we have three arms of government. You have the legislature, you have the executive, and the judiciary. You talk about the issue of poor health sector in this country. You talk about the issue of water in your constituency. You talk about the issue of what you said, I mean, unemployment, I mean, among young people and women. Let's now take it one by one. I mean, you are just a National Assembly member. I mean, what you can do is to lobby. But to be specific, what can you do to help address the issue of, first, the poor health sector, as you put it?
We will call on government to pay attention to the key priority areas, as I have mentioned before, that the budget should reflect the needs of the population. That is first. And secondly, we have seen what the Minister of Health said, that there is corruption in his ministry. We believe there is a lot of resources being allocated to the ministries, especially the health ministry. We have seen the COVID-19 funds. We believe if these funds were spent accurately, especially spent on our health sector, we would have standard, not only standard, but quality healthcare. Not only that, but we will have equipped and well-equipped, and also we would also be able to have well-equipped and medication available and accessible to our people. What we are talking about is to have accessibility, healthcare accessibility and affordable to every Gambian. And we would make sure that this happens at the level of the National Assembly, that government must pay attention to the health sector, and the funds allocated to the health sector should be spent exactly to address key issues. Not only that, my opponent has just talked about the anti-corruption bill, in which we feel it is very necessary, and we would work tirelessly to make this a reality, because we believe corruption corruption is what it's a nation. Because any nation that has a high level of corruption, it's underdeveloped, and we feel...
Yes, I mean, just earlier on, you talked about the budget for the health sector.
Mm-hmm.
How much was allocated to the Minister of Health in the last budget? Because it appears, you are so passionate about this health sector. Certainly, you should be able to know how much was allocated. You're talking about the budget.
At this moment in time, I cannot give you the necessary figures. But what I can tell you is, especially the COVID-19 funds that we receive in this country should have been spent to the right, should have been allocated in the health sector to provide standard and well-equipped hospitals for our people. And healthcare should be accessible. I have gone to a hospital, no, a health center in this country, in Fonyi, and they told me for 2 weeks, for 2 months, they don't have medicines in their hospitals. And this is not just a one-time thing.
Final question before I move to Mr. Fati. I mean, the other issue you talked about is the issue of unemployment and water in your constituency. Mm-hmm. How do you intend to address these concerns?
I think government must invest in the economy. Government must invest in the youths. And also, we all know that women are the backbone of this country, because we have a lot of women in agriculture. Agriculture being the backbone of the women, it is the women who are doing most agricultural production in this country. We believe, for example, if government will support women in terms of in the work that they do, if government could support entrepreneurs, if government could support the agricultural sector, government should invest in agriculture. By investing in people, we believe we can stimulate the economy. Not only that, we think government should also provide, we should look into industrialization. Because as long as we are dependent of what our livelihood or our means of sustenance, we are dependent on what we import from outside, we are still not going to be sustainable. So government must invest in industrialization.
Thank you very much, Aminata. I will now move to Mr. Ibrahim Fati, independent candidate. I mean, you talk about what you describe as poor representation from the sitting MP. I mean, what do you understand from representation? Just make us understand. What do you mean by representation? What do you understand?
Quoting from what Mr. Sanyan said, the anti-corruption bill that they dropped, and then it is something which I see that like it is very, it will be very helping for the future. Example that like me, and then my brother who is at 17, and then a brother who is at grade 12, who is about to graduate. I see that like it will be an opportunity for him to hold a position which me I am vying for, and then the position with the current incumbent is, I see that like, secondly, the thing is that like we, the youths, I see that like our current National Assembly member of Latrikunda Sabje constituency didn't create anything for us. And then what happened is that like in 2017, when he reached to our door, when he knocked the door, what he told us was that like, you are the youths. You vote for me, and then I will empower the youths. And then this happened for the last 5 years. And then for 5 years ago, I didn't see anything which the incumbent has created for us, the youths. And then I feel like me as a youth, and then I don't want to be a victim for the second time. I don't want to be used as a tool for the second time. And then I don't want my brother who is 17, who is about to be 18, to be used as the same way I am being used. And then I don't also want my brother at grade 12 to graduate from school and then being used as the way I am exactly being used. And then I want to be an example to my brothers. I want to make sure that like their voice are heard at the National Assembly. I also want to make sure that like the 5 years that we went through without helping them, I want to put my hand at that press and then I press the button of help to see them at the highest color, they fly as the way they promised us and they didn't fulfill it. I want to take that step and then I try and control a foundation whereby when my brother came into my stage, next time he will not be fooled by another politician. They will not come to him and knock his door and tell him that like, vote for me, and then we'll come back and then empower you, and then they will not do it. The same thing happens to our women, as Madam Korea said. They did the same thing, women empowerment, and then they never came back to do it. If honestly, women empowerment, it has to start with infrastructural developments. Example one like water, the water scarcity at Latrikunda Sabiji constituency, it is more often disturbing the women than us, because they are there to provide basic needs for us daily. And then they have to wake up 1 o'clock at 2 o'clock to go and fetch water. And then
thank you very much, Mr. Fati. You've said quite a lot of what you were expecting from the sitting MP, judging by what you said he had promised the people of Latrikunda Sabiji constituency. But to be honest, is this something that you believe a National Assembly member can achieve within 5 years? You talk about a lot. Yes. Empowerment, youth empowerment, water and all whatnot.
Well, honestly, if he came to me and then told me that like he can do it, and then he came with a sentiment which you know that like I'm able to trust him, and then I give my vote to him because of that, he talked about empowerment. And then I will give him my vote because after all what I'm looking for, it's for empowerment. Myself and then my mother and then the rest of the mothers are the consequence. So I will vote for him because I want empowerment. And then if actually that like he promised me and then he know that like he cannot able to do it, he should have not promised me to do so. And then for me, I have this feeling that like, and then this courage and then the capacity, I have the capacity when I assume office that like I can able to provide those empowerment for Latrikunda Sabiji constituency.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Fati. Let me now move to Ibrahim Nyang, who is contesting under the JDC ticket. I mean, this is the second time you are contesting. Indeed. I mean, you also mentioned about what you said. I mean, you said similar thing like Mr. Fati, the issue of lack of proper representation at the parliament. I mean, I mean, this is something that you intend to address. Just tell us, how are you going to address this issue of representation in the parliament?
Yes, because looking at the responsibility or the roles of National Assembly, I think representation also fall under it, beside oversight and other roles that are expected from every National Assembly to perform. But here, representation is about the people, and I think it's very important, at least, you know, to hear their cries. What are the struggles that they are going through? And these are the same problems that we expect you, when you are there at the National Assembly, at this, to make it a profound interest on you, to make sure that at least it will be sound and it is going to be forwarded so that everybody can at least see themselves that at least the problem that we are having, it has been said, and at the same time much effort has been put in making sure that at least we will realize certain changes. But over the years, right now we are on the campaign trail, every house that you go to, one thing they will tell you, we cannot even remember the last time seeing him. And it was not like that, because as a leader, you must be close to your people to know their problems. What are their challenges? And this is what we expect. That's why part of the things that we aim to do when we are elected is at least to have an office whereby we can be accessible to everybody, which is very important. But a leader, you cannot be distant from your people. How can you know what they are going through? I think this is very important. Not only to wait for a particular period whereby you have to move from house to house to tell them to vote for you again. Because those people voted for you on the basis that they will realize changes. And the changes is the problem that they are going through. At least there is parliamentary questioning. And I think that's the perfect time where an MP should use the opportunity at least to say the challenges that their people are going through. But we have not been seeing that, because we are not an MPs yet, but at least we are following what is going on. We have seen it in other MPs. They are trying very well to represent their constituencies in making sure that at least their people will realize the reason of voting them, because it's all depending on the line of change. But in our own constituency, it's a different case. The only time we have to see the MP is right now, when, you know, election is around the corner.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Nyang. I mean, yes. All of you are aspiring or aspiring to represent the people of Latrikunda Sabaje constituency. Like I said in my intro, it is the second biggest constituency in KM in terms of the number of registered voters. I mean, this constituency has 36,851 registered voters. Let's now look at the issue of the economic activities in that constituency. I mean, Sanyang, I will start with you. Looking at, I mean, what is happening in Latrikunda Sabaje constituency, how do you intend to address, I mean, the economic activities in that constituency to better improve the lives of the people?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sise. There are a lot of economic activities happening in Latrikunda Sabaje constituency. For me, if you ask me, it is the hub of most economic activities within the Kanifi municipality. Yesterday, I went to the women gardeners and I went to the those women working in the furrows. I think I spent there two hours. I interacted with this woman, and for me, one thing I like about that, I was an agricultural science teacher. I taught agriculture in several schools in this country, and I met women. I was very sad, and the situation was so terrible. These women are still doing primitive, crude and primitive way of gardening and farming, which has really disheartened me, because they have been doing this for the past 50 years. 30 years for Jawara, 22 years for Yaya Jammeh, 5 years for Adama Barrow, and none of this regime can at least uplift the status of those women by way of how they do their gardening. And I gave them quite a lot of advice there. Yesterday, how would they improve on their gardening and their rice cultivations in those furrows. So if you also come to the market, and for me, what I told them that what you guys cultivate here, this is what goes directly to our markets. So this is what supplied protein and carbohydrate directly into our diets. So I told them that I'm so disappointed that the City National Assembly member cannot still provide you people a single borehole. If you go there, they're fetching water from the ground. Even though, one thing good about it, their wells are not that much deep, but still, it took them a lot of energy to pull that road from the well and go and get it.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Sanyang, beyond what you said, advice that you're going to provide to the executive as in terms of empowering these women gardeners. Certainly we know, I mean, like you said, since Jawara's time, millions of dollars have come into the agriculture sector.
Correct.
But many have complained that not much is seen as far as the impact is concerned.
Correct.
I mean, the parliament is responsible for ratifying loans and grants.
Correct.
I mean, what will you do in your case as a member to ensure that, I mean, the chunk of that loans directly benefit the farmers, like women gardeners?
The most crucial function of a National Assembly is to make laws. And when we make laws, laws become binding on both the state and its citizens. Now, those women, what they lack is access to credit facilities. Is access to credit credit facilities. If these women access those facilities, I am very sure they will improve on their way of gardening. Just because it's hand to mouth. When they do that, when they do the gardening, cultivate their crops, take to the market directly, what they do is hand to mouth. What they get from the market, they cannot save it. But if women have access to credit facilities at a very minimal interest rate, they'll be able to improve on their gardening. So it was so disheartening to see them, doing that kind of gardening without any advice. One thing I also told them was, has government ever attached you people an extension worker? An extension worker, agriculture, those working at the agricultural ministry knows who are extension workers. These are the people who will educate farmers on improved method of farming or gardening. They told me that there is no single extension worker that is attached to them. So if I was their parliamentarian, I will not put that on the floor of the National Assembly. I will just go straight to the Ministry of Agriculture and go to the extension department and enable those women working in those gardens at least to have 2 or 3 extension workers who might not be going there every day, But if need arises, they'll come there, and it's going to be part of their routine.
Okay, I'll come back to it. But before I go to Aminata, let me just, you talk about the issue of credit facility for these women.
Yes.
I mean, you talk about going to the agri-extension workers to make sure, these women gardeners are considered. I mean, in terms of laws, what sort of laws will you propose to ensure, because you talk about the importance of law, like laws make certain things binding.
Absolutely.
In terms of laws, what sort of laws will you propose to ensure that the issue of the credit facility that you're talking about is really considered?
Well, as National Assembly member, it is your right, and you have privilege to sponsor private bills that can go to the National Assembly. And if you have support from your fellow National Assembly members, it now becomes a law. Do you understand? It can be a law. Work out with the Ministry of Finance. Do you understand? When these credit facilities are accessible, when they are accessible through the Ministry of Finance, women gardeners can access these loans from commercial banks. Even though the main money might sit in the central banks, because central bank is the bank of the bankers bank, for the fact that every bank operating in the country have some amount of savings sitting in the central bank in case you fail in your business, customers can get their money. Do you understand? It's going to be sort of a regulatory law whereby these monies are going to be available. These monies are going to be sitting in the commercial banks. Women gardeners with some collateral can go and access this loan with a very minimal interest rate. Because in this country, what is also eating our flesh is loans with high amount of interest rate. If you take a loan from the bank, you go and do your business. Before you get your profit, the business collapses because interest rate is very, very high. But this type of loans, when it is a law, is going to be women will access it at a very minimal interest rate. Then they are going to realize quite a lot of profit, and then eventually they'll improve on their method of gardening.
Thank you very much, Sanyang. I'll come back to you. Let me now engage Aminata. Aminata, you have heard from what Sanyang had said. Do you have a different plan in terms of addressing some of the challenges confronting women, especially looking at the like Sanyang said, Latrikunda Sabiji constituency is a hub as far as the economical activities in KM is concerned?
Exactly. I think the economic activity of women in Latrikunda Sabiji is mostly agriculture. Agriculture, and also, let's say, apart from agriculture, we have women selling in the market. And we have other sorts of businesses and commodities that women do sell. And apart from that, women do engage in other activities, like raising their own animals in their own homes. But then the thing is, what we are saying is, and even young people or families, but then people need economic empowerment in this country. Women need economic empowerment. And we believe we have been paying a lip service to women empowerment for a very long time. And this is not actually happening. And I have worked at the Ministry of Agriculture for 3 years, and we have had projects coming in. We have loans and grants giving to the Ministry of Agriculture, and we have target areas. These target areas are different areas depending on which the intervention the project is going to make. And we have had beneficiaries over the years, but then we believe more should be done. The recent project called the Roots Project is mostly is focused on horticulture and also supporting smallholder businesses and rice production. And we believe some of these projects, what we want to say is the funding that is provided should be accessible to those in need, should be accessible to the target beneficiaries, that is the people. If government is allocated a project or a grant that is supposed to target, let's say, 200,000 people, we are saying these people must get access to the loan. And if you give people crumbs and bits and pieces, you're not actually giving a remedy to the solution. What we want is, we want to give women funding to support them. If their businesses were crawling, they should be able to improve on their businesses. So this is what we are saying, and we are saying is...
Thank you very much. I mean, your time is up. I'll come back to Mr. Fati. Earlier on, I mean, you talked about what you said, I mean, where some of the promises made by the incumbent, in this case, Sekou Maram, who is seeking the election. And you claim, I mean, he has not fulfilled most of the promises that he made to the people of your constituency. In your case, what will you promise to the people of Latrikunda Sabiji constituency?
Well, what I will promise Latrikunda Sabiji constituency as a youth And then I feel like that it is time for me to expose myself, and then I attach myself into National Assembly for the fact that like I can put myself into consideration. When I said myself, I mean the youth. I'm representing the youth and also women empowerment. And then the current parliamentarian of Latrikunda, Sabiji Consequence, had did the promise, but then he didn't fulfill it. And then what I came to realize on that is that like he assumed office as opposition ticket and then later on converted to a ruling party ticket, which I actually understand that was based on his personal interest, which is not national interest. And then I feel like for me, when I assume office as independent candidate, that's exactly how I'm going to operate throughout my tenure. And then what I'm going to provide for Latrikunda Sabiji consequence is that like I will structure a bureau, and then that bureau will not be a political bureau as they are using their political color bureau. And then that bureau will be for Latrikunda Sabiji consequence. I will employ at least 2 from Abuko, and then 2 from Latrikunda Sabiji, and then 2 from Fajikunda. And then for myself, from my own salary, I will cut at least 10 or 15%. Exactly, I didn't know how much will be my salary in the future, but then I will also cut a percent which is like going to be beneficiary to Latrikunda Sabiji consequence, which I'm going to deposit at the bureau. And then every month I'll be doing that, and then we'll be engaging in other activities of having fun, which is going to be based on the empowerment of women and then the youths. And then one of the key priorities of that budget is going to be based on the health of Latrikunda Sabiji consequences.
Now, let me just put it on the spot here. You're talking about creating employment. You're talking about paying salaries from your own, paying these people salary from what you earn as a National Assembly member. How much is the salary of a National Assembly member?
Well, I don't actually know. Certainly they will tell us different figure.
But how do you commit yourself? I mean, something that you don't even know how much your salary is.
But then I said it earlier on, I don't know what is actually going to be my salary, but then I will at least cut 10 or 15% from my salary. This is what I exactly said.
So how much do you intend to pay these people that you are going to employ?
Well, they will work as with me, and then I will also lock a fund from other administratives and other sectors. So actually, that like I will talk. For now, I cannot say actually how much I'm going to pay them because I will not know how much will be my own budget and
but
how
so are you that you can get these funds from whoever you're going to lobby it from?
Well, one of the fun is that like we are doing it locally.
It's not compulsory. It's just by generosity.
Yeah.
Somebody will say, I'm supporting you with this amount.
Yes. One of the fun, in fact, it is that like we're going to do it locally because what I'm is that like I already reached certain various spots where these youth activities take on, which include Census Hall, Latrikunda Community, Fajikunda Community Center and Obi Semega Jane Hall, where I already go. I send my proposal, and then what I said there is that like I will be needing at least an assistant from any of your deposited paid money, at least $250 or $200. And then the second thing is that like every Sunday, me and my team will be visiting the market, and then we go to the events, and then we tell them like we are here for something, and then for fun, and then we don't put any price tag to it. Anything that you can, $1, $2, $3, and then we're going to deposit that money at the bureau. And then every Monday we give an update how much is what is the exact amount at the bureau for now. And then that money will go back to the community. What will happen is that like when you go to the hospital and then they prescribe a medicine for you, and then we will give you that money, and then from that money you're going to buy your medicine, and then you use it. Already I have a group which I already formed by myself 3 years ago. And then I purposely form it for blood donation. I have about like 25 men there, 25 boys, and then I pay my own money. I take them to the hospital to test their blood. I know all of their blood groups, and then I note it on the paper. What I would do, I left my number at Fajikunda Hospital. When a woman is at a critical condition and then she need a blood, they will certainly call me that like, Mr. Ibrahima, we need a O positive or O negative. So from the list, I will call one of my boy and then tell them that like, go to Fajikunda Hospital. There's a lady lying there who is in a critical condition.
Fadi, let me come back to you. I mean, earlier on you said, I mean, the incumbent cross-carpeted from UDP to NPP, not because of national interest, but for his own personal interest. You are contesting as an independent candidate. If you win, will you join any political party?
No, I'm not joining any political party. I will operate as independent body.
And I mean, we're going to stick with this issue of incumbent. How do you know it was based on his personal interest?
It is based on if actually the ruling president is actually doing good, and then it's operating it's steering the affair of the country at the best interest of the people and then of the country. We will have said that like he converted from another color to the other color because of national interest. But then we actually know that what is going on, and the timid governance which is going on in the Gambia. So you cannot say that like he converted from an opposition party to a ruling party based on national
Thank you.
interest.
I will come back to you. I have a follow-up question regarding that issue. Let me bring in Mr. Nyang here before we go into the local language because it's important. Mr. Nyang, I mean, we know certainly, I mean, Latrikunda Sabiji constituency has a quite good number of young people. I mean, youth unemployment is a huge concern not only for your constituency but across the country. I mean, how do you intend to address the issue of youth employment in your constituency?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's why it's very important to have a fair distribution of the nation wealth. That's where I think that at least maybe to reach out to not everybody, but at least to the majority of youths to be employed, I believe fair percentage should be given to the Ministry of Youth and Sport when we talk about the budget. Because it is a country which is majority of the people residing in this country are young people. So when we are saying that we have a budget whereby, you know, even less than 3% is given to the Ministry of Youth, because still now it's the same eye that the Ministry of Youth is being looked at. It's a baby ministry. So at this, you know, to give a fair budget to the Ministry of Youth, that will empower them, maybe to empower more youths economically in making so, because right now we have seen many youths who are engaged in this entrepreneurship. And these people, what they need is training. From the training, what they need is economic empowerment. So if the ministry is not giving what it can use in order to empower more youths, I think that also will kick us back as a nation, because the youths should be in the forefront to drive our economic into where we want it to be. So that's why our fight will start with the budget, because this budget has already been approved with 23 billion. So I think the next budget, if I happens to be there, it is going to be part of the reason that I will be fighting for in making sure that the Ministry of Youth will get a fair budget, a fair percentage from the national cake, so that at least it can empower more youths. Because we have many sub-bodies within the Ministry of Youth. And these bodies also depend on what the Ministry of Youth and Sport is being given. So once they are given a good percentage, I believe it can help them to empower other sub-bodies which are under them.
Well, interesting. I mean, you talk about the issue of fair distribution of what you call the national wealth. I mean, certainly, I mean, we know, I mean, this country is a tax-based economy and it's highly indebted. I mean, we're even spending more than the country is earning as far as tax is concerned. Where do you think we can get the money from?
Looking at what is given to the president and what is given to the Ministry of Youth, I think that alone we can cut from the office of the president and move it to the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Imagine the office of the president, how many of them are there?
How much is given to the president?
The president, the last time, I think it was 675 something million. That was what was allocated to the office of the president.
What about youth and sports?
150 something million was allocated to them. So just look at the gap between the office of the president and the Ministry of Youth. Are we serious about youth empowerment? We are not, because this is just a lip service.
And what sort of laws will you propose if you are elected?
This is what I'm saying. It started with the budget, because indeed, no matter the law that you enact or the law that you provide, at the end of the day, if the same budget is still given to the Minister of Youth, that will depower them.
No, but it's one thing, Mr. Nyang, to have, you can even allocate 12 billion to the Ministry of Youth and Sports.
Yes.
If it's not spent where it is supposed to be spent, then there will be no impact. For example, if you look at the Minister of Agriculture, in fact, majority of the high percentage of the budget is going to the Minister of Agriculture. But look at the impact. What will you propose to ensure that, I mean, the budget is spent where it should go? That's where our other responsibility comes. That is the oversight. Because we also have responsibility to call every minister to come and answer to us. We have given you this. This was your plan. So can you please prove to us that the money that was allocated to you was put in the right place? That is part of our responsibility, oversight. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Nyang, candidate for Gambia Democratic Congress Party, JDC, Yaya Sanyang, United Democratic Party, Aminata Korea contesting on the PDIS party, and Ibrahim Fati, an independent candidate. Once again, viewers, for the records, I mean, the incumbent, Sekou Marang of NPP, was invited. He rejected our invitation. Omar Colley, we understand, couldn't be here due to other engagement mbadi ngolu melbe QTV jube kan ngali bismillah jang ko tenke mutanan ka debate menata lungolu jang QTV flenti bidung be latte kunda sabaji constituency la jube kan melnyata jambi wala mu Ibrahima Nyangti atabe lokan GDC party ya Sanyang United Democratic Party Aminata Korea PDOIS aning Ibrahima Fati atabe lokan independent candidate mbokk nga mi ina isran QTV di len dalala rek di len wax ne delsi wat nañ ci everyday programme bi am fii nga mo nekk debate bi tay nak ñi am mo nekk latte kunda sabaji constituency ku len fi ñewal te mo nekk nga xam ne moo nekk Ibrahima Niang moom na mu ngi taxawal ci mbootaay bi ñu ooyee GDC party am nañ fii nga xam ne moo nekk Yaya Sanyang mu ngi taxawal United Democratic Party Aminata Korea mu ngi taxawal PDOIS party ak Ibrahima Fati moom na nekk na ko nit koo xam ne mu ngi taxawal independent candidate pour mu leer rek balaa ñu ñëw si programme bi invite nañ candidates yëpp ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi taxaw ñi nga xam ne moo nekk Latrikunda Sabiji constituency waaye Seeku Marong nga xam ne mu ngi taxawal NPP dafa reject sun invitation bi nanguta ñëw si debate bi Umar Colley nag moom independent candidate la waaye moom dafa jël ay excuse ne loxam bi dafa xala jàpp moo tax mënut a teew fii nii ladies and gentlemen ngamurna yang kotenke let me start with Yaya mbe fulo etelama because it be local on the UDP party député ya muni dunda ko kono munana electa kalo kaka député woti Latrikunda Sabiji constituency
na ankalo député de Latrikunda Sabiji constituency ngafo media house jama balto na banko la tanya ndebe I was very key mbe I was very key member in Barrow's government because mbedo ko at OIC. So me ente sacrifice to purkalo National Assembly election na nga banko ngawlje andun tilimbalya membe kerim banko kan kala mutabalya membe kerim banko kan tinyaro membe kerim banko kan nyo kaja fo membe kerim banko kan asiyata bakele andu yenyi masakunda jibe ñi manke masakunda ti mense ñi banko sambano ñi masakunda la ni be mol fonta do ko le bikele londi jibe ka jere ko ñi loyal tantale dal ñi masakunda bu kam mota because yelo ndo sotole pour yelo ndo tamandi pour que banko develop ka combat develop ka kien develop ka basé develop ka badi bi develop ñi masakunda bu ko mo appointo ñama e be tantawan ko suda ñulé be donna ñulé ne e be denkelo la ñulé ye sindir lato me alon ko be barli e be marli banko la naflo la e be marli banko la hadma dingol la e be ñanta ñi banko itala do ko ñanta tan ñi banko eta ñaato ñi masakunda man be tilimbale la gambiano la e be ko jibe je ni be molta do ko la just because you are just loyal to them ñi ne mo na motivation de kalo National Assembly member pour Latrikunda Sabiji constituency.
Bari ñaje ye fen jamafu amin ñikita député woti ilafta ka mum falin sifanade pour kaje e ka me ilafta men pour banko eta ñaato ibe mum falin sifanat la parliament pour kaje ilafta men ay soto.
Thank you very much. Yalong ni la moyne diamola seriously e ba discover ko kamu samba plaso me alon ko ifa alon ka ta samba nola because a beta la partir kono yake palaso in sambanola ninde na National Assembly ko ngafanya National Assembly la crucial function is to make laws mbe loi de dala loi me lonko ani director ni president ba appoint la amina lan tol nga vet do National Assembly member nga jibe faabe banko sambanola because amantra do ko president sambakan president na dimbayal abe gambia la sambakan so woku matel nga jibe ko mosi itebe mosi fa jumal kekan minister for agriculture di ebe jumal de kekan director for immigration di ebe jumal kekan managing director for ports abina National Assembly nga mari la tracker ko jibe nga mari jibe fa da do karang wol bo do ku la samba no la bam because it's not about the president, it's about the nation. So mba bi loi de dala mba di la ñu National Assembly member so mba fal alim fasa alkana GDC kujibe alkana APRC kujibe alkana UDP kujibe alim fasa fo Gambia la ko because ndolbe nga Gambia nga lo represent ngana badia jibe ndimo malo ngete place men sabanora you go and do something else so na ñi banko be lo ñi
abarka bak yaaya memorle kane bayma ñew si Aminata Korea Aminata li mo neka ñaarel yoon yaa ngi taxaw pour ut li nga ne mo neka Togo bi nga ne mo neka député pour Latrikunda Sabiji constituency so ñu mëne waxtaanal rek lan nga fone loolu mo nekk feel yo si nga ne mo fa nekk di represent Latrikunda Sabiji
Manyo si kala mamandinga.
Wow, bana it's okay.
All right. Abaraka bake Aliou. Niaje ntolbelo la député yala. Lafta kelan na mol nyatile, lafta kelan na mol nyatile ini da député bungoto. Bawo mo bete sila no député bungoto. Anu wala tinnan kan na député tombong pour ye signe député bungoto. Isaje mol la kumbo da mo minti. Mfanan sa wo sino je. Bawo ngalon ne ko député la do ko manke luwada dati doro luwada da be jele bari fanan ka je ko banko la dépense min ka dépense sango sang man sakunda ka samana député bu ngotole pour asa fo ko lafta ñine dépense la so député le ka jibe fo du labe jele bang anya mi ya lon ko ya dépense o min nyanta tarleji amantare je o dépense o min nyanta tarleji amansi fo mun tole tambita wo dépense fanan nin be ntol sontama nga dira fo aketa damento adunta jele bang wolen ika fo wole accountability wolen ko ninga na fulo du yibul sontama ko alnyante nyin dépense lale ko do nyanta no malale ka jeko nga na fulo min dila a dépense la nyanta dépense la damento anaye mol nafa
yefe fo mi ala ko kumata bakele bari membe sirinje sign mi ala ko atlebe latte kuna sabje constituency represent kan ay muneke memba tindala ko alba fola rezimata nga samba jamanta ke kan
okay follow wolen ko molle ya sindi mol ya sindi min na jiko kan ko ay kem mol kanoti ani dati député bu ngoto bari instead of ate mol fasa ate kaka mansale fasa anu wo manke député mi yalon ko molle sindi la do ko minti wolen ko man sakunda nga nafulo min duyi bulu anu man sakunda la tamandirnya pour ye wajibe bar ni te ko ima wajibe sila ite ka man sale fasa woto ite silo bulal wala nga foloti mol min yal sindi wol ko ila bata damu minti ila kumbo damu minti biri ya sindi fobi ikoy bukaje foni biri nying election wato sita abuko ci amano ko biri ilafta street lights kele la dulata pour ka fanundi pour mol se tanka iko biri ya call anu yeletero safai fo bi ami respond bari wo nyongol lebe je wo nyong problem lebe je to la constituency kono because ika jele ko ji kol mun to la problem moti silol min to la problem moti to nyalem député tumando naf for development fund min yalan ko ika di député la wo fana nyante murna no na tundol kanne ni yesem bentu ya ni mol yesem bentu ya sita député bungoto ntol fana lafta jere ko yekutu tey wolen ko ifana ye ferol ke ye funds mobilize ini la councilol ye do ko ke kaje ko mol la kumbo da mo minti ise nyafita
baraka bake Aminata Ibrahima ite be lokan kake independent nyamo independent mo mi alan ko e mental lokan ye any of the political parties mona de decide pour que lo independent party will share de
well killing ngajelo ko political parties all they have the same political chemistry because what happens is that like eka national assembly mun for timididi mun tamata je damangol tema comme lamfu ko mun tamata je ngajelo ko national assembly representative political parties all bele bije mbe ka national assembly roje be nyabalale ya understand but then at the end ngajelo comme ikela de moderate de acha ikela ila sirongo be sirim minkan ika moderate based on ila particular constitutional la ya understand so ngajele ko mi abuka flexible abuka mul mako ya understand certainly ngaje fon ko ika dolje ko bi amina fo nyamen ibe masa fasa la ya understand comme anu mul na nga kadita nga sika nga ditela mul ko putta ita mo represent national assembly ye diam mul to yala ye mul kamol fotani national assembly ko because ntal tirano je nga diam na safero ga facebook la barade ma mul moy ntal sinano mul na facebook to ye si ya jibe ko ntal constitution nying na consequence nying abitaka nyadile and gambe bitaka nyadile eta ese mo represent hanne either you are devoted to the president but ila nyanto lam pour to nga fay in so much the time that you are assuming office man you was not devoted to the president you understand so you converted from opposition party ila mansakang for your own interest because seku nyata mala nyatinte la ko nyoko he converted to the ruling party because of the like national interest and then national interest ala key priority mundi wolon integrity ni man loyalty so de la banko ye ni man tilingo so de la banko ye development of ay kam ni ta sot la because lanno anin tilingo data development on la akamu fo ni ye funds la mi ko development funds leng ni man lanno tamani ni man ka moti mi ko tilinde la mol yala mol kanu ita fotandi lema because ntalia lon ko lati kunda sabji consequence be situation min kono at the moment mobe ya lonne youth sol la fonke fam mobilas pour ka led project sol ke faji kunda abuko ani lati kunda but then ikata dula do de ka fe ko sorry excuse me ikata dula de ka fe ko na national assembly parliamentary no ikamera ning aba party represent kan national assembly instead of
abaraka bake Ibrahima Mr Nyang yow nala pindi xamna yow mom da nga ci olof bi wala
waaw ci olof
bi waaw just briefly ci lu gàttal rek yow nima ko waxe won rek li mo nek ñaareel yoon yaa ngi taxaw pour ut li nga ne mo nek togu bi pour nek député Latrikunda Sabiji constituency ñëwaat nga taxawaat I mean lan mo la sawarlo be nga wara delu waat uta togu bi
Wow, comme Ghana Mr. President be already elect nañ ko and over the 5 years tamit gis nañ naka la nekk di use some of the members because man lu ma gëm mooy ida ñëw nga with party ticket or independent dafa des tamit ndax nit koy elect jiital na national interest over party or own interest am because gis nañ fa National Assembly members yu nga xam ne si house bi ñoom ak Barrow mu leen offer taxut ñu dem fii ñu fi toog ñi yëpp Barrow soxla nañu waaye dafa am lu nga xam ne gisuñ ko si moom muy national interest bi moo tax ñu ñëpp ñu taxaw on the opposition ticket so man tamit dama gis ne jéego yu Barrow di doxee suñ di same National Assembly member bi jéego yuñ la moo doxee su nekkoon ne lu ma expect si moom yëpp mu ngi koo def kon jarut ma taxaw because su nekkoon ne mu ngi represent suñ nit yi nu mu ko war a defee nationally mu ngi represent dëkk bi kon jarut ma taxaw because man loolu laay ut waaye dama gis ne dafa fail on both sides and Barrow dañ ko dénk suñ kër and baax na torop ñu nga xam ne ñoo moom kër gi ñu seet nda nu moo doxalee kër gi correct na nda correctut and loolu nag pour ñu mun koo am foog ñu yóbbu fa nit du nga xam ne duñ gis only seen constituency waaye dinañ gis national because si National Assembly bi di nga fa discuss issues yu nga xam ne nekkut about Latrikunda Sabiji constituency buñ jógee si beneen dëkk la so ma gëm ne daal dëgga pour ñu am check and balance si house bi ba weyaa baay lu ñëw dinañ ko mun a seega bañ gis ne lii moom dëgga mun nañ koo support ndaxte lii mooy suñ njëriñi nit yi ñu soog koo def ndaxte luñ gis si lu romba mooy empowerment bi it was one sided yu bari comme ni ko honorable waxee am na yu xew like the draft ñëpp xam ne ne it was politically moo tax draft bi dee because even time mu demee àgga si executive level bi ñoom lu njëkk a complain mooy that section bu nga xam ne dafa deny Barrow pour mu go for another mandate pour mu go for third mandate so that was their first thing buñ outline and ñun nag dañ gis ne lu fa nekkoon was more than because mënuloo am perfect constitution loolu rek is a sample and yeneen yu nga xam ne tamit support na ko constituency bi ñun we are seriously left behind compared to other constituencies su ma leen seetee dama leen dee ñëwee because dama xam ne
jërëjëf Ibrahima sa time bi génn 2 minutes nga am léegi nag toll nañ fi nga xam ne dinañ alaaw yéeni neen ñoo ngi laajate question bu dee laaj am na sa morom am na lu mu wax te am nga question boo bugg a laaj nga ko laaj sayin be damento yayaning Ibrahima ak Aminata sayin fuda dame alan ko sayin al si ñoo ñini kano ñaara moy fem fo me alan ko ilapta pour ay do clear wala kule me alan ko aman ko yima al si ñoo ñini kano sayin ñaara questioner be je
well I have a question
all right
okay and the question is that, like suddenly nkaterna campaign kono le I will be going house to house and then they will be intercepting me telling me that like the Yellow Party was here before you, and then what they said, it is that like you are sponsored by Adama Barrow or you are sponsored by Sekou Maron to distract them from winning. Well, what I certainly tell them is that like, I think that like they don't have agenda.
No, the question.
Yes, I'm talking to Yasanya. I don't just want to say that.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
yes. So certainly, I do say that like they don't have enough agenda to sell. This is exactly what I said. And then if I happen to be their agenda, then I'm seeing that like I am a threat to them. Exactly.
Yeah. Are you a threat?
So can you try and clear that to the media that like excuse me before you go further you have to make sure that like you have to make clear that like I am being sponsored by Adam Barrow and then I'm being sponsored by Sekou Maron. You have to make that very clear because what I did is as a candidate of Latrikunda.
No, Ibrahima, time out here. Just ask your question.
Exactly. Mr. Fati, thank you very much for raising this alarm. But it is a meme for a drum. Into la campaign timo inte dunda la go Ibrahima Adamo le sponsor Ibrahima UDP ticket le safe bira inte ma xam droit ala ko wan inte lo no ate abay ate ay UDP le safe So bra UDP safe wato mol beje mi alan ka no so compute no. Ngam be ata mo ndanga letero safe data biology. Okay, to clear your point. Namina afo na campaign timo kono ndaka timo mel lead. Mo namina fo kono ko adama baro le sponsor, se kumara le sponsor. Mfalensi aso wala yamwe. Maybe yala political rumo kasiale. I have no problem with that. But mbe la manene ni ko mbe nyimfolo ko na ntela campaign timo kono kam lead because I'm the head of the campaign in the constituency. Mo namina fo bun kono ko, mo namina fo korda kono ko. Adama Barrow le Ibrahima sponsor, Sheikh Umar no Ibrahima sponsor.
Well, it bola fala. But then ila from your ila
have political misinformation.
Okay.
And then political.
I don't know so killing.
No, I you have already answered my question. No, I don't want to. I want you to ask me. I have something to say
Oh,
again.
you ask me.
Okay. 1 minute. Ibrahim. Okay, saying a sound. Ibrahima, Yaya, Aminata. Mama question also ibe mi nyini kala isa keno ya nyar question be nyini kay
lafta Ibrahima nyini kala question clean ako donations abe $2 fencere ndaga men understand Ibrahima diamodo Ibrahima lafta ke national assembly mbati ay do musol kam marché kono ay donation o table $2 $3 ay tala office kono ay insurance scheme yele je. This is too much.
And then
don't understand. It you are on the verge of eating the flesh of women. You do marché kono. Nganje njayo la bata fojang e kambe bata men ka abuko gadi no kono e ka bata men ka faji kunda gadi no kono ite sta sile office kono ye donation boto sika e ko ni la timo ala fa ko okay al donation dinna na sasata insurance scheme le bentable na office mbal jaral men. This is not realistic, please. No, let's be very realistic.
Yes, it's a question. Okay. It's a question. Abula a response.
Yellow party kabra campaign wala almondu mul ko marché kono ala ko table.
Juma
atel
I'm tamor me.
Okay, good. Yeah. Then the reason kamu fo mi anama dala si float ala mulbulu. Ni ngera dala si float ya Aminata Korea bul bi nga landi. Almala tagala so mana dingo sasa de bor sa fay malon ko dala si keben dala si float boro sanno la.
Ibrahima.
Non jabi wala rek dala si float boro sanno la.
Ibrahima, yeah, that's enough. Okay. Aminata, come in and Ibrahima.
Yes.
Okay.
If you have any question that you want to ask to any of the...
No, I will leave this topic for them. For example, I had my opponent said that, how to call it, government must make it accessible for women to access loans. And in accessing those loans, okay, yeah. Okay, come ni government nyanta make sure la le musol se loans sotono. Anu nga jibe collateral musol be collateral soto la nonya. Collateral ni amoy wolenko comme ni bi isolata jiola. Silang nyinjio pour ka tankandi. Fo ise fen sam manyena tumando ise ibe baby ikonyeko nyinjio is $10 $5 dundi isaje nga $10 sodira. Isa ngala na fengo betankala le o ikonyo ko ila tutata dina na isa jensa o ila banko dina comme ni bi musoleti lafta fenkol agriculture la scanna do ko le sembentu ya ko nyebi ibela gadi no le sambala o ibela korda kayto le sambala na isa je nse sono lon ngam lafta e mil dong wolen ko nyim banko mu fare bankolti anu lan mimbe jang mostly
Aminata, you try no as much as possible. Na yini karol nge sutiyande isa yele jabiro seke because yale mekeda
this was a response to him.
Exactly. I mean, I'll come back to you. Well, viewers, you reminded that you're still watching QTV. I mean, this is your daily live debates here on QTV for candidates contesting for the upcoming parliamentary election here in the Gambia. The lines are now open. I mean, if you're from Latrikunda Sabaje constituency and you want to call and ask any question, you can now call. I mean, the numbers are there on your screens. Mbadi ngolmebe QTV jube kan intermento ngalay nolu yale. Mama lefa komandro ke yenyini karo soto lefa ka nyini ka ida Ibrahima nyalla mo yaayalem Aminata o Ibrahima Fati isi komandro kelon yela nyini karo ke mbokk nga mi yena siran QTV di la wax ne rek yena siran QTV fu mu nekk ni ubbi nañ line ci képp ko xam ne bu nga call pour laajte am loo bëgg a laaj si any of the candidates ya Ibrahima Nyang Yaya Sanyang Aminata Koria wala Ibrahima Fati mu nga call number si ñu ngi noonu si seen screen si ñu ngi ñaan ñi spécial ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi dëkk Latrikunda Sabiji constituency soo leen mënee call rek seen candidates yaa ngi nii ngeen jéem a laaj bu dee am ngeen inti loo leen bëgg a laaj call bi nag pour laajte la ngir yàlla pour laajte la képp koy call rek na meg so naa ma am na loo bëgg a laaj yes Ibrahima
yes it's just going to be the same as Aminata regarding proposal bu nga xam ne jógee na si Fati and Sai teg na part of our agenda because during the presidential election so by health president bi mu ngi doon promote the health scheme
hold on we have a caller hello caller
hello
yes mën nga ñu bàyyee sa tur si soose wala si olof fi nga sa tur fan nga nekk di koole
ntomi kadi le def kadi Fati Latrikunda Sabiji
okay kadi yéen ñi ni karo toro bang hello kadi yéen ñi ni karo toro bang wala
nga ñini karo mun so wolem comme like Ibrahima ko mo fo comme like musul neta ka tulala sojo
diam abe moy kanne
okay so sai wo lato wo tulala so ay wole film wole kene ke because yalla musul be batade so ni always kana musul kanka musul ka
Ibrahima
can I proceed
yo moy la
I was on my feet
no let me answer the question
okay kadi jabe ko den Ibrahima nana
okay kadi Fati le ko yoni ga important na bake mais man nakuma ko understand mais min na mantar ka fa le ko lo jo ntal bina sana dano la mo nakuma le mondra mo forcer la pour ay fen jo ning abe bulu ni dala si fulo di mo la tana ni ma di mo la tana bari be dala si fulo mun di la mo la e be dala si fulo min di la mo la o dala si fulo mol bo tala nga landi bureau to aninta fongo la sarare même ko dina jawala la bureau to aninta da holo mu do programme ko ke dabe be ko min di la mo la bala la bureau ni to nala mo sasara nala mo sasara natara loptano ni boro sangal safiala Latrikunda Sabiji consequence mo ni mbiji ye boro safe ni sa nono yera o bureau nyinto yana je ngara nga boro se pharmacie ngoto yo dala si flo min jo ni ta danta o damana
Ibrahima
ni mo ila ma ni boro safe
time constant yes Ibrahima Mr. Nyang
teg naa ne suñ tryé at least we work with the president on lum promote mooy the health scheme or the health insurance scheme teg naa loolu dinañu dimbale trop because loolu dina cover everybody understand ba pare at the end of the day dinañ am access to health attention and tamit dinañ gëm ne tamit dina nekk quality waaye just dafa depend suñu fa fekkee any one of us so naka lañ ko reviewé bañ make sure ne dina represent our interest
exactly ñu ngi maa wane time bi jeex na tak because debate bi is 1 hour 30 minutes léegi nag naa leen bàyyi yéen ku nekk am 1 minute nga def closing remark choosal si language bo prefer Mandinka English Wolof yaya closing remarks momo minute killing
yo ntela closing remark o be kala ñete ko mbelef la Latrikunda Sabiji constituency molu ali carte fayñe candidat on be siri 2017 nga fay ñine because of competence bere UDP Seku Maran Samana nga fa UDP ko ñi man competent ñen tan to represent no ya men ko ngitu ta Seku la ko man jutala ma fay nga fay ñine bo this time around Amada is in trouble because def la competent that is so for that being the case ma fa Latrikunda Sabiji mo al carte fayente Ibrahima wa faale ko ambassadeur abedala marché ko ay ñepal ko do kan ayta alen dal bureau to gonde ma men fa understand be ko do fon le bureau fon do mi fon Ibrahima ko ndi Latrikunda muso lal ko na gagneta alla ko do al kam men fira na ñapa kan na te boto ko
galo almoplo bi kelo ñi programme bat ana kunna jang Ibrahima Mr. Nyang GDC closing remarks
waaw di gërëm waa Latrikunda Sabiji constituency yëpp di leen wax ne daal seen savant la because 2017 contest nañ élection bi romana waaye maa ngi nekk ak yéen mboolem loo leen jooy incha allah taxawoon naa si ba nga xam ne yu bari facilité nañ ko muy project su nga xam ne def naa ko after the 5 years bu ñàkkee élection bi waaye still now soo gisee ñëw di contest dañ gëm ne suñ demee ba toog si toog bi mën nañoo def more than that dinañ empower youth dinañ empower women ba pare dinañ fa toogal si National Assembly dinañ fa toogal constituency bi dinañ fa toogal réew mi yëpp ba mboolem lu nga xam ne daal mooy represent interest yi Gambia loolu lañ faa def ba pare di use this opportunity di leen wan ne ñun ñu fi nekk nii yëpp wala most of us xam ngeen ñun ñu taxaw so baax na tamit ku ñoo saanil bu mu nekk on party line bu mu nekk tribe wala bu mu nekk religion waaye nañ seet di most competent candidate ñu jokko suñ karta yi ba nga xam ne ëllëg su fa toogee regret buñ live over the past 5 years du amaat so si kaw loolu di leen ñaan yéen ñëpp ngeen saanil ma April 9 su ma demee moom comme nu ma ko waxee incha allah noonu laa ko defee.
jërëjëf yes Aminata.
man li ma wax rek di rafetlu toogaay bi li ma wax rek mooy jigéen yi atum ren dañ bugg a suñ moromi jigéen ñu boot ñu ba rogganti ñu waaw buñ laal suuf ngir li waral loolu gis ngeen ko barki dem woo ñaay biñ buggee yokka toogu député yi pour jigéen yi gën a mën a am toogaay ñu bëri ci ñi waroon a toog pour gis ne bil boobu mu dem turu dañ jóg dem doxi seen soxla maa rek uti seen carte yi liñ bëgg a mooy ne na jigéen ñi dooleel seen moromi jigéen yi ndax ñu toog fële ci pencum réew mi ñu mun a jooy li nga xam ne la askan bi di jooy ñu mun ko faa waxtaan li nga xam ne ñu ngi koy jànkuwanteel ñu mun ko faa waxtaan bokk na ci li nga xam ne bugga nañ koo def mooy ne bugga nañoo mobilize fond boo xam ne dañ bugg a jàppale niw ji doole si suñu askan waaye gannaaw loolu itam bugga nañoo mobilize fond boo xam ne dañoo dimbale jigéen ñi ci mbiri microfinance ak ndaw ñi pour ñu am self employment mbaadi mandinkoor rek ka faali alnim bara anum fanan ka faali ko ñinang lafta moño musol ye moño musol bambu itana bambu
abarka bake amina rakole finally Ibrahima Fati independent candidate
well man lu mu am pour wax dafa gàtta and then yeah, is trying to provoke my agenda but then what I can say what I can say is that okay, I don't interrupt him.
Okay, 1 minute.
Okay, what I can tell you is that like that was the day he was at King FM. Akumole ko nada sida aba kaspa du la sul ko ma kaspa adu and then before he assumed office the work abe doko minna they are paying 150,000 according to the yellow party what they said and then akada doko la dameng they are paying less than that money. About 50.
Ibrahim, for God's sake, it's not the Yellow Party, it's UDP.
Okay,
United Democratic Party. You have 1 minute, Ibrahim.
Okay, UDP, but then you are intercepting me. So
30 seconds.
Okay, so UDP, before he assumed that office, Ibajola could have been 150,000. Muna na man kaswa du ni water because our plus, you know, like okuma sefa. Ndele mi fa simple tala. Dale se fulo mina mun tala marseto. Mba salat to danda. Nem miyaki je salat. Nem miyaki je salat. So nem miyaki jabe murle ne tele ka na murle kan kono minna. Wale be siale dale se fulo min kije because niye boro safe jang.
Thank you very much. Thank you very quickly. I mean, according to the rules, you know, you have to shake hands or have an elbow bump at the end of the debate. Let's have that. Handshake. Ali blood in your
No, I hold my leg. Ndamanda blood la ya saya. Mejo la fana kan jio. Ngala jala.
Well, viewers, thank you so much for watching the live debate today. I was your moderator, Aliou Cisse. I mean, like I've said, I mean, as you are seeing on your screens, I mean, that's the spirit. I mean, at the end of the debate, I mean, debaters must acknowledge each other for a handshake or elbow bump. I mean, tomorrow there won't be any debate, but I will be back here on Sunday to bring you the debate for Bundukakunda constituency. On that, the debaters, we have to thank them. Yaya Sanyang of UDP, Ibrahim Fati, independent candidate, I mean, the Korea PDOS party, and Ibrahim Nyang of GDC. Like I said, for the records, I mean, the NPP candidate Sekou Marong declined our invitation, and another independent candidate, Umar Koli, also couldn't be here. Thank you so much for watching. Do join us Sunday. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.